Hey everybody, welcome to another episode. I'm your host Chris Shang, and today we've got Mark Facciani, who is the founder of Path. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Chris. Excited to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what Path is. What do you guys do? What kind of companies you guys work with?
Yeah, so the focus is on really helping construction tech and really any SaaS company who's B2B to be able in that crucial stage to help to design, to hire, and then elevate and onboard SDR teams.
Got it, got it. Was there any, I guess, like outside of construction, is there any other verticals that you're working with, and why construction as a focus?
Yeah, construction really, I mean, sometimes it just happens that way where where's your area of expertise? Where did you land? That's where I started. And I've really enjoyed it, even though I'm a guy, I don't know how to hammer a nail. But when I left education and got into construction, that really is something I fell in love with. And like everything else, you learn to speak the language a little bit and you understand that you think, hey, maybe these are trends with all businesses, but as you get a network, you meet people and you talk to more and more people in different verticals, you realize, you know what? There's something to this and the way things happen here in construction. And I thought, might as well stay in my lane, certainly as I build and grow. So at some point, I'll be interested in learning more about other verticals, but I've enjoyed the space and there's obviously just so much that can be done in construction tech. So I'm planning to stay here for as long as I can.
Very cool. Awesome. So before we kind of go into your entrepreneurial journey, I noticed that you did spend some time in sales, obviously, before you started here. Tell us a little bit about your background. I also see that you were a teacher before this, before you got into sales. So tell us a little bit about how that all happened, and then we'll jump into the founder journey for you.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely took a little bit of a non-traditional path to get here. I certainly think life is a journey, and so I was a teacher and coach 15 years. Thought I was going to be there forever. Loved it. Was my course was set there, and the day my career changed was walk into the head of school's office and he had said, hey, you're going to be the next head of the middle school. And so here's the big day. I walk in and I find out that I'm not actually going to be the next head of the middle school, but his wife is going to be put in that position. So
Mm,
life flipped on a pivot. All of a sudden at age 43, what am I going to do? Talk to some good mentors, talk to people I respected, and someone who I really, really truly respected, a guy named Kurt Conti, said, hey, look, I think you're getting a raw deal here, but um, if you ever think about leaving education, maybe you want to come work for me. So that got me to kind of stop and pause, and I decided to finish the school year and do that at the end of the year. So jumped in, joined his company, and it was definitely overwhelming at first because again, don't know how to hammer a nail, don't know anything about software, and really didn't know anything about business. And where it kind of clicked for me was I realized, hey, I know how to learn, I know how to teach, and I know how to build teams. And so once I kind of took that lens and applied it, I learned as much as I could about sales development because that was really where I was thrust in kind of figuring out we need to build this function at Tenna, which was a construction software company in their umbrella of companies. And so I applied as much as I could to be a student first, talk to people, understand the business and how things grew. And then, like anything else, go figure it out and do it. So that was my first experience in terms of jumping in. And then had an awesome journey there where I got to build the first iteration of the SDR team. Then, like everything else, another pivot where we had to pause. And I then ran customer success for 2 years as we really kind of retooled the software. And then on the back end of that journey, the last 3 years I spent there, really got a chance to take those lessons learned from the first round and really apply them to elevate the company and get us to a great spot where we really accelerated.
got it. Very cool. And what were, I guess, like some of the things that you went from working at that first company to then like making the leap into another company and then kind of like making those transitions into more senior leadership? And what were maybe like a different set of skills that were required in that versus like, that of like an individual contributor?
Yeah, so I think when I first joined the umbrella company, I was working really just trying to get a sense of um, I was doing special projects, and I think at that point it was just really understanding and building relationships across companies. They had never built a business plan across all the companies, so I was really more in a I guess you could probably call it more of a marketing role, but you realize pretty quickly it's relational. I had to go meet 6 different CEOs within the network of companies, and I didn't even understand their businesses at the beginning. And so for me, that was humbling, but I took a step back and just needed to understand that, try to start with who these people are and what makes them tick. And then through that process, I learned to ask the right questions. And then to be able to, since I built the relationships, I was able to then understand what needed to be produced. So that was a very delicate experience for me, because again, I was coming with a huge imposter syndrome of, am I too old for this? Is corporate America not for me? Do I even, am I just a fish out of water? Every day I kind of walked in and thought I might be outed. I remember literally the third day I was there, uh, I get in there early and I'm trying to make coffee and I forgot to put the filter in, and all of a sudden you have coffee all over the countertop in the kitchen, and the office manager at the time literally gave me a 15-minute tutorial that I had to sit through of, here's how you cut open the bag of coffee grounds, here's how the filter goes in. And I just thought, this is symptomatic of my future in corporate America. So but then again, day by day, you kind of learn, just be humble, talk to people, and it was really about the relationship. So that was very important for me to get a grounding. Once I did that, then I learned, okay, well, now this is nice that I have this relational experience, but I need to learn a specific skill set. It's very important to understand. And now that I know how the ecosystem of the companies work, I now need to apply myself deeply in one area. And so when I was placed in Tenna, that was really important to be able to then dive in and understand everything about sales development. So I was able to apply some of the relational skills of talk to people in marketing, talk to people in sales, and then talk to people outside of the company to be able to do that. But I think that was the biggest switch, going from getting this sort of global understanding, working with people, to then developing an area of expertise, and to go really from macro to micro.
Got it. Very cool. And then tell us a little bit about that leap then from Tenna, going from like a stable now full-time, salaried employee to then going into a founder role, which is again like another batch of like instability. But what was that thought process like? And then yeah, we'll start there.
Yeah. So, I guess I've been blessed that I've been around people my whole life that have been risk takers, and so I think a little of that rubbed off on me all the way through. So, my dad founded his own business. Had an experience where when I was very young, he left working in a bank, started his own business, didn't work out in the first iteration, and then he restarted the same business in mortgage banking, and then took that through and had a very successful run. For me, I think as I was building some success and having a great experience at Tenna and meeting great people, I had a little bit of that itch and that question of, this is going really well. I like it. I like my work. I like building teams. I like being part of a team. But do I want to wake up in 10 years at 60 and feel like I missed my opportunity? And so,
Mm.
I think to me that was that itch of where can I make a bigger impact? Can I build something for myself? Is there a bigger challenge for me where I can help and impact more people? And so that was really, at the end of the day, what drove me. And so, the seed was there probably a couple years earlier. But then, you have that doubt of, is it the right time? Does this make sense? Now, certainly moving from education to working at a software company, I'm making more money than I ever have. I've got a stable piece. Our teams are doing really well. So there's all those reasons not to do it. And yet I just kind of came back to that, that you look at some of those different exercises. I think it's a Stephen Covey one of just, if I look at the end of my life and I understand that funeral exercise, am I going to have that regret that I didn't do that thing that I was driven to do? I had that motivation to do something. Am I going to be more regretful that I didn't make the choice, or that I chose and maybe didn't work out as well as I hoped? So I think all those things were the contributors for me, especially that, and nothing like a milestone birthday. I turned 50 last year. And so with that coming up, I thought, hey, this is the time to just go for it and leap into the unknown.
Got it. And in doing so, what has been some of the expectations that either been like met, exceeded, or just kind of came out of left field for you, or shortened?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting journey this year for sure. It was funny, in terms of obviously, my passion right now is in building teams. It's something that I did when I was a student advisor, when I was a wrestling coach, then building SDR teams. There's a running thread of I love the aspect of help of doing that and being a part of it and helping others do it. So naturally, I knew I had the opportunity to do this with SDR teams. So, but what I really didn't think about was I had done a lot in terms of helping others sell, but it's quite different when you are the product. When it's
Mm,
you going out there and selling the service. So fortunately, I had a connection, and I met someone early on, had a great fit, and coming out of the gate in the first month, had a great first client, and that was awesome. That everything went better than I could have hoped. And that was wonderful. I'm like, things are off and running. Sales are easy. This is perfect. It's just meeting people, share your story, and then, boom, boom, we're just going to take off from here. That exceeded my expectations in terms of how quick it happened. Then, of course, you have the humbling part of the journey where, as you realize, a lot of other opportunities that were sure things just fell apart at the last stage. And then you question yourself as a founder of, you know, was this the right choice? When's the next one going to come from? And then all of a sudden, you're on the entrepreneurial roller coaster. And so I'm very grateful for having had both of those experiences. And now, yeah, I find myself somewhere obviously in the middle of it. That drove me to understand I need better strategies around how I do things. I need better processes, and I need a better underlying belief in things that are important in terms of why I'm doing this and where I want to go. So all that served me really well in terms of grateful for the quick success, but also grateful for getting humbled in that
mm.
sort of quieter patch of forcing me to figure things out.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and with Path, I mean, what's kind of been like the one of the bigger challenges, I guess, like not outside of the expectations, kind of like missing the curve on some of those things, but like what's some yeah the some of the bigger challenges where obviously as a founder, all of a sudden it's not even about just the core competency of delivering on a specific value, but it's then wearing all the hats that goes along with it, right? So it's like you're not only the chef, but you're also now the restaurant owner, the manager, the cashier, you're answering the phones, etc. So what's been something that you've had to pick up along the way that, yeah, again, you didn't know you're going to do, but maybe have a love-hate relationship with?
I think it's definitely outreach. It's
Mm,
definitely just the process of having conversations and meeting people, and realizing that is it's an inexorable part of the journey, and you better fall in love with it, because if you try to outsource it, or you don't, or you have other, whatever you want to call it, tensions, friction, dislike of it, you're just not going to go anywhere.
mm,
And so, for me, that was something um, that it took me a little while to realize. And then once I embraced that, I also realized, hey, you know what? This really, in every aspect of life, like how valuable sales is. And I think we're just so conditioned as a society because all of us have been sold in a way that has been inauthentic and
hmm
has created friction. And so I think, just without even realizing it, we probably, I don't know what the right word is. We absorb some of that. And so as a result, unless we consciously realize, hey, I know I got something great to offer. I genuinely know I can really help companies grow. I know I can offer great value. Unless we consciously do that, it's easy to be influenced by, I think, the noise of just sales is evil, and it's manipulative and you have to do a certain way, because you really don't. There are definitely processes of how to do it better, but I think that leaning into your best self in the process actually made me even more confident about what I can do, and I'm grateful for realizing that again, maybe some of the pieces in the past about where I've seen it done wrong has been a good positive experience for me to realize what I don't want to do and how I don't want to conduct myself. So I think the sales and outreach process, as a microcosm, has been a huge piece of the journey for me.
got it. Speaking to kind of where you are as a business now, what are some of the things that's kind of keeping you up at night that's really topical to you?
I think, for me, you know, it's whenever I don't know if it's the old student or the old coach in me. It's almost kind of what we talked about before is, you know, when I work with clients, I want to be all in. And so I struggle to do things part way. And so I can get really focused or maybe obsessed about serving and getting tunnel vision on that. So I for me, obviously, that's important. That's great. And I think that always has to be number one. Like, if I don't do a great job with everybody I work with, I'm not going to be satisfied and they're not going to get a great result. And so I could never sleep well if I don't do that. At the same time, I have to learn how to keep that eye on building the business at the same time. Otherwise, I'll get so immersed in the great experience of working with the current client or clients, and I won't do enough to grow. So to me, it's how do I find that right balance of allocating my time in the ideal way every day where I know that I can effectively both serve with excellence and then grow the business in a repeatable way. I think I have gotten to one, let's say, graduation point or progression that I do have is um, I realize now that it's like you have to solve one problem at a time. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that is a current one for me to solve, but like getting from checkpoint A to B or B to C or C to D and beyond is not that important. Like the how is going to resolve itself. And like once I solve this problem, the next one will surface and I'll have to go solve that. I think when you get 6, 7 steps down the road of, well, how do I scale and how do I get from 50 to $100 million as a business? Like there's a lot of steps for me to get to before I have to worry about that problem. So let's kind of table that. And I think a lot of well-meaning people in your life will try to focus on things like that of like, well, hey, how are you going to scale to that level? And to me, like that's not the problem yet. Like the
Mm.
most important thing is keep working, doing a great job with current customers, keep expanding my message, keep figuring out how to allocate my time best on the day to day, like that, then the next problem will reveal itself that I can go solve. So for me, that's kind of what keeps me up at night, and that's where I'm trying to focus.
Got it. And last question here as we're rounding up on time, just kind of, what do you, with all the, changes in the macroeconomic environment, with technology innovations and all those things, how are you thinking about the future and maybe like not necessarily the even so distant future, but like in the next 6 months to a year and how it relates back to your business and success for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and talking very specifically about sales development, I think like AI is obviously the topic, right? And I think that, I want to be able to continue to intelligently speak about and kind of share the message that I think that just from an education standpoint, people need to understand and realize that AI will continue to be a part of business period stop, whether that's sales, operations, or any other aspect of it. That said, I am a firm believer that if you think that it's just going to solve all your problems, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And I
Yeah.
see too many companies out there content with thinking that AI will solve every single issue in terms of growth and development. And what I'm often hearing is as I delve in and talk to different people, they realize that and again, I'm also going to talk specifically in construction tech that the business is won on the phone. The business is won in face-to-face relationships. And so AI is going to be an important part of creating efficiency, enhancing your process, and making things better. But it's a tool. It's not a one size fits all that's going to solve everything. So I think for me, it's making sure I continue to articulate that as well as I can, while also staying on the cutting edge of understanding what tools are out there that can help companies do it better. So for me, I
Mm.
think that's really where I'm spending a lot of energy and time to make sure that I'm both really aware of the trends and the specific solutions that'll help the people I work with, while being able to intelligently articulate, I think, the pitfalls of just outsourcing something or relying on AI, because I think doing that, you really miss the curve.
Absolutely. Very cool. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time and doing this interview with us and sharing your journey and going from teacher to sales to founder. It's super interesting and very inspiring.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. I definitely found been finding your journey inspiring, and appreciate your input and the chance to get to talk and do this today.
Absolutely. Thank you.